Hey, how you guys doing today? I actually ran a poll on Twitter yesterday asking you guys what type of video you wanted me to make, and the people have spoken, so this is what I'm going to be doing today. And there was a few of you who've actually asked me a question in the comments before, asking me about the Crypts of Winterfell and if I'd ever talk about them. So probably about a week ago, I started rereading the first novel, A Game of Thrones, because I vaguely remembered a few chapters in there about Jon having some dreams about the Crypts. And I've always kind of felt one way about the Crypts and how I thought that was actually going to play out, so I want to take the time out today and actually discuss it. So let's begin. And I mainly want to give my opinion on whether or not I believe Jon Snow will find out about his parentage in the Crypts. Did Ned Stark hide some kind of a clue down there, knowing that one day Jon would find it, revealing the burning question Jon has asked himself his entire life about who his mother was? And the crazy thing about it is the answer to Jon's question has been right there the entire time. He just didn't know exactly what he was looking for. But Jon, he's almost had like this sixth sense that something was down there waiting for him. And if you guys have not read the books, then you should probably know that Jon Snow has had this recurring dream about what lies beneath Winterfell in the Crypts. In the first book of the series, A Game of Thrones, in one of Jon's POV chapters, it says, "I find myself in front of the door to the Crypts. It's black inside, and I can see the steps spiraling down. Somehow I know I have to go down there, but I don't want to. I'm afraid of what might be waiting for me. The old kings of winter are down there, sitting on their thrones with stone wolves at their feet and iron swords across their laps. But it's not them I'm afraid of. I scream that I'm not a Stark, that this isn't my place, but it's no good. I have to go anyway. So I start down, feeling the walls as I descend, with no torch to light the way. It gets darker and darker until I want to scream, and this is when he always wakes up." So to me, it kind of seems like whatever it is waiting for Jon in the Crypts has to be at its lowest level, where it's darkest. The Crypts are filled with tombs of members of House Stark. The cavernous vault is said to be larger than Winterfell itself, and the oldest members of House Stark are buried in the deepest and darkest levels. And the lowest level is actually said to be partially collapsed. And I think maybe that's where Ned could have left something for Jon. Something hidden deep away that no one could find, until Jon finally seeks out what has been calling him. And in another one of Jon's POV chapters, it says that last night he had dreamt the Winterfell dream again. He was wandering the empty castle, searching for his father, descending into the Crypts. Only this time the dream had gone further than before. In the dark he'd heard the scrape of stone on stone. When he turned, he saw the vaults were opening, one after another. As the dead kings came stumbling from their cold black graves, Jon had woken up in pitch dark, and his heart was hammering. Even when ghosts leapt up on the bed to nuzzle at his face, he could not shake his deep sense of terror. He dared not go back to sleep. Instead, he had climbed the wall and walked, restless, until he saw the light of the dawn off to the east. It was only a dream. I am brother of the Night's Watch now, not a frightened boy. Now, do you think that could be a clue that Ned left Sir Arthur Dayne's sword, Dawn, down there? Now, we know that when Ned went to the Tower of Joy to rescue his sister Lyanna, he was met with resistance by Rhaegar Targaryen's most loyal men, who were there protecting their prince's son. And this led to Ned and his men having to fight them so that he could get inside the tower to get to his sister that was obviously in trouble. By this time, you could hear her actually screaming. And that's when Ned was disarmed by Sir Arthur Dayne, and he was actually nearly killed if it wasn't for Hallan Reed. And just before Arthur Dayne bled out, that's when Ned picked up his sword Dawn and gave him the final fatal blow. Then Ned went inside, with the sword Dawn in his hand, to discover that his sister Lyanna was giving birth to a baby boy, Jon Snow. We have been told that Ned rode to Starfell to deliver Dawn to Arthur's sister, Ashara Dayne, but we do not know that for a fact. Ned's kids were also told that he beat Sir Arthur Dayne on his own, which we now know was a lie thanks to the Tower of Joy scene. So how do we know Ned, or even Hallan Reed, didn't keep the sword for themselves? I find it very strange that after Ned allegedly returned the sword to Ashara Dayne, she then committed suicide, and her body was never found. I highly doubt that sword is in Starfall for some reason. And if you guys have any cool theories on that, please let me know about it. But also, Bran has also had a dream that connected Jon to the Crypts of Winterfell. And Bran revealed this to Master Luwin. He said, "I dreamed about the crow again last night. The one with the 3 eyes. He flew into my bedchamber and told me to come with him, so I did. We went down into the crypts. Father was there, and we talked, and he was sad." And that's when Maester Luwin then asked Bran, "Why was that?" And Bran said, "It was something to do about Jon, I think. The dream had been deeply disturbing, more so than any of the other crow dreams." I find this to be very interesting. Why would Ned be sitting down in the crypts, sad, and talking about Jon? I think it must be because he is upset that he can't tell him the secret that he has been keeping that has been weighing Ned down since the day that he made that promise. Or could it be because Ned was preparing something down there for Jon that he knew didn't belong there? Something that would break tradition, whether it be an artifact pointing to Jon's true parentage or a tomb of his own, even though Ned knows that a bastard doesn't belong there. Which is why Jon always had the dreams of him screaming that he is not a Stark, that this isn't his place. Ned also had nightmares of the crypts. Something disturbs him about them, which makes me think that Ned may have reserved a place for Jon down there, even though he isn't a legitimate Stark. But there are other things Ned could have possibly left behind for Jon to find, to help him understand or even confirm just who he is. Everyone that knows this story knows that Jon's father, Rhaegar Targaryen, is most famously known for playing his harp. And he didn't just play this thing, he pretty much took it everywhere he went. Almost every time Rhaegar is mentioned in the books, they mention his harp as well, which is basically in every book in the series. So I guarantee he took that harp with him to the Tower of Joy. And I also would guarantee that Rhaegar would play the harp while Lyanna was pregnant with Jon. I think he would probably play the harp and sing to him while he was inside of Lyanna still. The harp was obviously something very near and dear to Rhaegar's heart. Something I could see him having with him at the Tower of Joy. And something I could see him leaving behind with Lyanna when he knew he had to leave. And I think if Rhaegar thought there was a chance that he wouldn't come back, then I could see Rhaegar leaving behind his most prized possession for his son. And this was something Ned should have been aware of. Even if Lyanna didn't tell him, most people knew about him and his harp. I think this is something Ned could have put in the crypts for Jon, for when the time comes to help confirm just who his father was. But there is also something else that should be noted. Something that Littlefinger once said. Littlefinger said, "A harp can be as dangerous as a sword in the right hands." So what do you think he meant by this? A harp can be as dangerous as a sword in the right hands. Could it mean that by Rhaegar playing the harp, it added to Lyanna falling in love with him, which ultimately led to Robert's rebellion? Or does it mean that Littlefinger knows, when it's finally revealed that Jon Snow has a connection to the harp, that Jon could be the true king, leading to another war over who deserves to sit on a throne? I would not be surprised if Littlefinger knew the truth about Jon, because it seems like Littlefinger knows everyone's secrets. And when him and Sansa were in the crypts together, and Sansa said that Rhaegar kidnapped and raped her Aunt Lyanna, we all know that look Littlefinger gave her. And to me it meant more than just what lied on the surface. I think this harp could be the key. I think it could even be hidden inside of Lyanna's tomb. One thing I was concerned about though at first was whether or not Ned could leave a clue with Lyanna's tomb. Because I remember Robert visiting her tomb, and I was wondering if Ned would risk hiding something there, knowing Robert was coming and would want to see her. But what is one thing Robert would never do? He would never disrespect Lyanna's tomb, or section of the crypts period. Even if him and Ned were at war with each other, he loved Lyanna so much, I don't think he would ever destroy her tomb. Which is why I would also think that Ned could definitely have hid something inside of her tomb, knowing that it would never be broken. At least he would hope so. But besides having Dawn down there, or Rhaegar's harp, could there be a Targaryen wedding cloak hidden deep down inside of the bottom of the crypts? Or inside Lyanna's tomb? Or even a personal letter, perhaps? I think Ned could have easily written something. Or even before Rhaegar left the Tower of Joy, or before Lyanna died, they could have written their son a will, plus leaving him the harp, letting Jon know exactly where he came from. I think all these things are very possible. Plus, I don't want to forget, the plot leak also said that Sam and Bran figure out Jon's parentage while they're at Winterfell. So besides Bran's vision, if he still needed Sam to help him put the puzzle together, where else would they find something at Winterfell but in the crypts? It's always possible Sam could have read up on Winterfell's crypts while he was at the Citadel, which leads him to wanting to explore them while he is there. You never know. But I think most parents assume they're going to die before their kids, or at least the kids they are raising, which is why I think Ned left something for Jon, for him to discover after Ned was gone. And I strongly believe that if anyone goes down there and finds something, that it's going to be Jon. And since Rickon died at the Battle of the Bastards, Jon is going to need to take him down into the crypts to lay him to rest. And this is when I think we could get another big reveal, as big as the Tower of Joy scene, when it transitioned from the baby's eyes to Jon's eyes. I feel like Jon is going to stumble across his own tomb, only it will have a slightly different name on it, and he will be as stunned as he was when he thought a wildling knew where Benjen was. But Jon realized the tombstone reading traitor was meant for him. Only this time, when Jon sees a tombstone meant for him, it won't say traitor. It's going to say Targaryen. At least I hope so. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.